a change for better, capacity for independent thinking. This is a more beautiful question paper because also this is a more intelligent question paper. And those who believe in or may have prepared with the method of learning by rote, rattebaji, I am afraid they may not fare well in this paper. My dear friends, here we are for my brief comment on the essay paper in UPSC Civil Service Exam 2021. The name is UPSC Civil Service Exam 2021, but I expect you to know that the paper for essay took place on January 7th. I have always described UPSC overall exam pattern as beautiful. My word for the process is beautiful. I call it beautiful because year after year I find it intelligent, very thoughtful, thought-provoking. The way papers are set is a reflection of lot of thinking and some special intelligence that goes into it. That is how it should be, because we are giving this exam to occupy the highest seats in our civil services. This is the job of running India for Indians. So the exam better be intelligent and therefore beautiful. I have also always maintained that a defining feature of UPSC exams is that there is no rigid pattern. As those who prepare for or guide for the exam, we may always think of the kind of questions that come up in the papers. So we may keep going through the syllabus. Also question papers from, let's say, previous 5 years. See if any pattern emerges. So even I do that. But every time I do that, I also remind all the students that don't take this as a final word. Don't close your mind. Don't let the mind be rigid to think that, okay, this is going to be the pattern. That is because you may never really know when the pattern may suddenly change. And you have to have that supple, flexible mind to immediately and quickly adjust yourself to that changed pattern. Another very natural outcome of the point I am making now is thinking about possible questions in the exam. Almost everyone does that. I have always suggested one defining principle, a definite principle. I call it a 100% certain principle to predict possible questions in the exam. And that principle or the thumb rule is, let your mind go free, work at its best, and conclude what are the possible questions in the exam, and then be sure that they will not come up in the exam. And conversely, think of what are the questions that will definitely not come up in the exam, and they will turn out to be the questions that come up in the exam. Apply these two, and we keep moving around in circles for like infinite time. What you predict will not appear in the question paper. And what you predict that it will not appear in the question paper will come up. I could engage you on this for like hours and hours on end. Some other time I am going to talk to you about GS4, but I can't resist one temptation here. There is EQ, emotional quotient. And couple of years ago, there was a question regarding EQ. So if you think that because that was a question last year, the same or similar question may not repeat this year, which may be normally true. But then suddenly the next year also we had question on EQ, and the year after that also. So utter unpredictability is one of the defining features. I'm saying all this because absolutely all of it is reflected in the essay paper this time. The pattern, to say, if a pattern that has changed, the nature of the topics also has changed. Personally, I call it a change for the better. So far, we used to normally think that there would be 2 sections. Again, normally 4 topics in each section. And it is possible that one section would consist of what I normally call as abstract topics. The ones that you may find it slightly difficult to develop, build and turn it into concrete essays. And then as compared to that one section consisting of abstract topics, another section is generally consisting of very concrete topics, and they have an unmistakable GS orientation. So broadly, some question on national issues, problems, policies or programs as the normal pattern. Every time during even pre-exam times, whenever I explain this, I do always make it a point to repeat that do not let your mind be rigid and think this is the final word. When it comes to UPSC civil service exam, no particular word is the final word. You are your final word. Your thinking capacity, your smartness at the time of the exam, your capacity to stay cool, apply your mind, think independently, crystallize your thoughts, and then present them in the best way. That is the only solution. So the so-called pattern is seen to be changed this year. Yes, there are 2 sections. Yes, each section has 4 topics. But this time you cannot really necessarily say that only one section is abstract, maybe theoretical, more philosophical, and the other section is concrete about national issues and problems and all. No such definite guiding thing. I will say this is a more beautiful question paper because also this is a more intelligent question paper. And those who believe in or may have prepared with the method of learning by rote, rattebaji. I am afraid they may not fare well in this paper. But those who are well read, those who have not prepared with a blinkered vision, those who have like 360 degrees or even three-dimensional, if I may say four-dimensional in fact, 3 dimensions of space and 1 dimension of time, as Einstein helped us understand, they would find this paper a creative challenge. This paper is a creative challenge. So I welcome this. I hope you have managed your time properly. When it comes to time management, I don't see any problem because the word limit given is each essay in 1000 to 1200 words. So even on the higher side, you are required to write 2500. In GS, you know that these days you are required to write maybe as many as about 4000 words. I have always found managing 3000 to 3500 words within time a reachable goal. This is 2400. So I do hope that time management is not problem. I hope you made the right choice. Given an essay topic, there are always like infinite ways in which it can be interpreted. So like I said, this time there is no definite watertight separation between the sections, that one section is, so to say, like I said, theoretical or philosophical, or the term I like is abstract. No such difference. And as to the plans, programs, policies, etc., again, no definite one. This is a very well thought out essay paper. I can't say it enough that it's a beautiful one, really a challenging one. And I know that only those who are indeed well read and those who have capacity for independent thinking, no set pattern, no learning by rote, but they can think. The established term is out of box. Capacity for independent thinking, forming thoughts, and then putting them in our own words. All such of my young friends will do well. Again, for a while we will just enjoy picking up each topic and just 1 or 2 lines on how that each topic could have been interpreted. I need to start that by presenting a caveat that actually each topic can really be interpreted in many ways. I would say infinite ways. That also is one of the beautiful principles from Indian philosophy. The principle is called Anekantavad. That there is no scope for single mind. When one event occurs, it has not occurred because of only one factor. There might be many different factors which converge to give effect to this result. And then one such result or effect will also not cause another single effect, but it may result into many different options or alternatives. Anekantavad tells us that anything and everything can really be interpreted in very many ways, I am happy to tell you that actually the same is also the conclusion of even modern physics, especially the quantum theory. So let us enjoy, hopefully, just one or two lines on each topic. The process of self-discovery has now been technologically outsourced. The moment I read this, my mind basically and immediately says that while the impact of technology on human life, including brain and possibly including whatever is to be understood as process of self-discovery, the role of technology may have increased. But when I write this essay, I'm actually not going to agree to the proposition that process of self-discovery has now been technologically outsourced. No technology can and will ever replace our internal journey. That one has to look within, that you want to self, capital S, knowledge of the self. It is through the internal process. And of course, if I may again say Vedanta or Indian philosophy and also modern conclusions of physics help us understand that actually there is no dvaita, two-ness, no dichotomy between what we describe as the outer world and inner world. They are only relative terms for our perception, because here we are living with in the body. But saying that our process of self-discovery is outsourced to technologically outsourced. So the essence of the way I would treat it is not to agree with this proposition. I will explain the proposition, but not agree with it. May I say that especially Chanakya Mandal Parivar students may be kind of more happy with this subject, because I do hope, and may I hope, and most of you, how I wish all of you, remember our Adhishthan Malika, and the essence of that Adhishthan Malika is knowledge of self. And we dwell upon the meaning of knowledge of the self and how that process, the phenomenon of discovery of one's own self, goes on and on and on throughout the life, like until we breathe our last. It is indeed Adhyatmik, but like I said, you can interpret in any which way. The second topic, your perception of me is a reflection of you. My reaction to you is an awareness. What a beautiful sentence. I was immediately reminded of another equally beautiful sentence. What you think of me does not show what I am, it shows what you are. And this one is like transliteration of this thing. Your perception of me. Okay, I am who I am. You perceive, say, the objective perception of who I am, but your subjective perception of understanding of who I am. So, your perception of me is reflection of you. Okay? And then my reaction to you is an awareness of me. So the way I react shows who I am, what I am. For example, I always keep sharing this with students, that imagine someone points out your mistake. Someone comes and tells you this is something you did wrong. How do you react? It is humane to instinctively justify oneself, keep arguing that no, I didn't make a mistake, and then make counter charges possibly that you are wrong, or also get enraged and start criticizing the person who tells you that you did something wrong. All possible. We are all human beings. But think of how beautiful it is to think that someone points out a mistake. Stay cool. Think about that point. If the point is right, you are open for correction. If the point is not right, all you have to do is smile and say thank you. And dono surton mein, in every case, remember to actually thank the person who points out your mistake. And the way you develop this essay will go on. I also hope that you understand that this particular topic is essentially focused on EQ. Emotional quotient consists of 5 most important factors. Within these 5 also, the first 2 are self-awareness and self-regulation. This could also come up in the first topic, but similarly in the second topic. How you are aware of your capital S. Again, knowledge of the self. And how you can regulate and thus present oneself very properly. I really to tell you so many stories and explain each point that I'm not going to do. I myself by committing in my mind that this topic will be hopefully in 2 or 3 sentences. But when subject, I must tell you, of so many stories in Indian philosophy. This time I am immediately reminded of Buddha. The topic, limitlessness is utopian, while materialism is chimera. So Buddha said, life is full of pain and desire is the root cause of pain. That desire, wanting something. I have this, now I want this. So Buddha also teaches us, and in the overall Indian philosophy, to rise above all kinds of desires. To want maybe less and less, especially at material. So could it be utopian? So explain that term utopia. And materialism also is chimera. On this topic and the next, I thought translation of the topic in Hindi may also come up with new challenges, questions, problems or even issues. Because in Hindi, जबकि भौतिकता माया है, the Hindi translation of materialism is chimera, is that bhautikta maya hai. And similarly, the English sentence is the real is rational and the rational is real. But sad ही यथार्थ है और यथार्थ ही सद है. I hope you begin to see the issue. I'm not calling it a problem. I hope you begin to see the issue. This term Maya has very specific, vast and beautiful meaning in Indian philosophy. Maya is everything that is measurable, quantifiable. But Indian philosophy and now modern physics increasingly, especially the quantum theory, has begun to tell us that the world that we see, the physical, the material world, okay, is illusion. And beyond that. So even the fourth topic, real is rational and rational is real, is questionable or challengeable. Rational would mean anything and everything that is pursued with reason. our jnanendriyas, as we call them. And knowledge is really rational. This is a statement from modernism. Modernism is a product of 19th century science. That everything is definite, everything is well ordered. And science also developed way beyond. And quantum theory developed. Heisenberg developed the principle of uncertainty. And even science takes us to two completely contradictory conclusions, both of which are based on perfect science. The theory of relativity says that everything in the world is extremely well ordered and therefore predictable, and everything in the world is going to unfold in a predetermined fashion. So theory of relativity actually is determinism, while quantum is of the movement principle. So nothing is predictable. Nothing is predictable. So philosophy also moved into an arena called postmodernism. It also gets the name post-behavioralism, and that appears in philosophy, political science, sociology, so on and so forth, that the nature of truth is also beyond reason, beyond our senses. And I will, like I'm saying it for the third time in today's talk, that even modern science has begun to say this. Very challenging, very tempting for me. I will make one last observation. This last fourth topic translated into Hindi, arth hai aur yatharth hi sat hai, also takes us into very different areas from what the English one may. Sad, again, in Indian philosophy, it has an extremely deep meaning. And yathartha, I'm not sure yathartha is the English term rational. Buddhigamya, achievable for intelligence. Tad also comes up with the term ruta, the core of the truth, essence of the truth also. So this will always be a problem because many not translatable English, and vice versa also. Vice versa. This is a feature of every language. I hope you have taken all this into consideration and written your essay. Section B has one subject that can be pretty close to being concrete. That is, hand that rocks the cradle rules the world. What a beautiful sentence. Part of the pattern usually is one topic that relates to women, women's empowerment, women's issues, to see your awareness, to see your mental, social, moral evolution, how it reflects. But this time it kind of also is focused on the role of women in society. But if it is hand that rocks the cradle, then it would mean it is almost a motherly instinct. Talks about motherly instinct. I was immediately reminded of, I think, as one of the founding principles of Indian civilization, Matru Devo Bhava. I was also reminded of many sentences Marathi say, one line from poem says, जिचे हाती पाळण्याची दोरी ती जगाते उद्धारी. Almost the same one. Almost means the same one. Or another great Marathi writer, Acharya Atre, he said, स्त्री ही क्षणकालाची पत्नी आणि अनंत कालाची माता असते. दॅट वुमन इज वाईफ फॉर जस्ट अ स्प्लिट सेकंड, बट मदर फॉर इटर्नल permanent time. This is a beautiful sentence, has a very deep meaning, but this will be centered around our perception of the role of mother. And mother need not necessarily refer to only physical sex, that even men can become more loving, more caring, more compassionate, and that will make the world more beautiful place. So this was the, you could relate it to various programs of women's development, also child development, so on and so forth. Then what is research but a blind date with knowledge? I find it, like, if I personally, the most challenging one to develop. There is a scientific methodology stated by none other than Aristotle. Form a hypothesis, collect all previous data, perform your experiments, and arrive at a conclusion. These are 4 steps. So you form a hypothesis, but when you do a lot of research, actually the research may throw completely unexpected results, completely new results. So what is research but a blind date with knowledge? The knowledge that evolves through it will be something completely new to you. Then there are better practices to best practices. I interpret this as our constant endeavor to keep improving. One sentence I always keep telling everyone, like especially students: do your best and improving on your previous best. So when we say best practices, it doesn't mean it's final, it is sealed, and nothing better can be done. There can always be something that is better done. I was also reminded of another beautiful book on management science. The title of this, Teach You at Harvard. Harvard Business School has a great name. There are ground truths or practical tips with your feet on the ground, street smart ideas. And they are not necessarily taught at Harvard, because maybe the book wanted to say that the orientation of Harvard is more theoretical. But whatever Harvard teaches you as best practice, and you can still improve upon that. And the last one I am picking up, this might have been the one that I picked up in section B. Personally, in section A, I would have picked up the topic on process of self-discovery. But this one, history repeats itself, first as a tragedy, second as a farce. Just allow me to express my happiness that during our practice this year, I had given a couple of topics which are pretty close to these topics that have appeared. So, like, allow me just to express my happiness. I hope you don't perceive this as gloating. If you do, I would withdraw my statements. But I'm just expressing happinesses, and this one particularly. The topic this year I had given was, what man learns from history is that man learns nothing from history. And the consequence of that is this one, that history repeats. But first as a tragedy and then as a farce. So, is there a pattern in history? Do things in history repeat? Are there similarities? And you could go on giving so many examples. But if man doesn't learn right kind of lessons from that history, then of course history repeats. And then first time it is tragedy, but you commit the same one, same mistake, then it is a farce. And you can define history, share stories, and arrive at your conclusions. In the end, therefore, I hope you have enjoyed the process, managed your time properly, started your essay in a sharp, crisp way by, like, maybe sharing some quote or some couplet, kissa or share, developed your essay, and reach a crescendo towards the end and then sum up your essay. So, a beautiful essay paper, intelligent one, and those with independent minds will fare better. Continue to enjoy. I do intend to engage you regarding GS 1, 2, 3, 4. See you soon. Until then and forever, all my best wishes for you.